is in session. In accordance with General Statute 138A-15, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and the appearances of conflicts. Does any board member have a known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict of interest or appearance of conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter involved.
Mr. Chairman, I have two, number 11 and 19.
Okay, 2019-001 and 0019.
Correct.
0011.
0011.
Yeah, 0011 and 0019. Okay.
Are there any others? All right, thank you, Mr. John. We have a motion to consider approving the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second to approve the agenda with items taken in order as determined by the chairman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We have a motion, comments on the minutes for July 30th, 2019.
Motion to approve. Second.
Do we have a second? We have this motion and a second to approve the minutes of July 30th, 2019. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Do we have anyone to speak at open forum?
We did not have anyone asked to speak on the open forum this month.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to finance, and I believe we have an auditor's report.
Yes, I'll ask, as most of you, I think all of you were here last year when Tina was here. This is Tina Smith with Bernard Robinson and Company, our auditing firm, and your audit, copy of the audit should be in front of you, and I'll turn it over to her to go over it.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here to present the audit report for the appraisal board for the year ending June 30, 2019. The audit report consists of the governance letter and the audited financial statements.
Is your microphone?
Just hit that button right there.
There you go.
Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have reviewed these reports with the Finance Committee and management last week in detail. I would like to start by reviewing the governance letter. The governance letter is required by our auditing standards to review certain information about the audit to you as the governing body. So I'd like to walk you through that letter and let you ask me any questions if you have any. Under significant audit findings, the first item talks about the fact that management is responsible for selecting appropriate accounting policies in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. We review those policies to make sure that they are in accordance with GAAP, and they are. They're fully disclosed in Note 1 of the financial statements. The only change in the policies this year, there's a new GASB that was effective, GASB number 88, regarding certain disclosures of debt and long-term liabilities. This GASB did not affect this board's financial statements or disclosures. The next item lets you know that there are certain estimates included in the financial statements, and the most significant estimate affecting these financial statements is depreciation, which is based on the estimated useful lives of the assets that are capitalized. And we do review the estimates and make sure they're reasonable and consistent with the prior year. The next item lets you know that there were no difficulties in performing the audit. The audit went very smoothly. Mindy and Dawn do a great job getting ready for the audit, and they're prepared. The audit went smoothly, efficiently, and they were available during the week we were doing the field work to answer any questions. So we certainly do appreciate their help, and this board is a very well-run board, and we have a great deal of confidence in management and the staff of this board. On page 2 at the top, corrected and uncorrected misstatements. The corrected misstatements relates to any adjusting journal entries that we propose as a result of our audit procedures. Those are attached to the letter. These entries are consistent in nature with the prior year, relate primarily to converting the books from a cash basis, which is what your budget is based on, to an accrual basis. Entries such as accounts payable, prepaids. We maintain the fixed asset software for the board, so we also propose the entries for fixed asset activity and depreciation. So no unusual journal entries. The uncorrected misstatement, which is also attached, we pass on due to immateriality, relates to deferred revenue on the application fees that come in at the end of the year related to the next year. So the effect on that is very immaterial. The next item lets you know we had no disagreements with management. We did request a management representation letter, which is required by our standards before we issue the report, which management has signed. And that is a standard letter that management lets us know that all the disclosures have been made in the financial statements. They're not aware of any fraud or irregularities within the organization. So they have signed that, and we have issued the report. We're not aware of any management consultations with other independent accountants. Under other audit findings, we let you know there is one GASB statement that has been issued that's not yet effective related to lease disclosures and accounting for leases. That will be effective not this fiscal year, but 2021, and should not have a significant impact on these financial statements. And then under other matters, this lets you know that we do apply certain limited procedures to the management's discussion and analysis related to making sure that the amounts disclosed agree with the audited financial statement amounts. And that's all I have for the governance letter. One thing I would let you know, a very important part of our audit is to review the internal controls of the board. And we do testing of those controls to make sure that they're effective. And I'm very happy to report that we did not find any deficiencies in the internal controls and no exceptions in our testing. We feel that the controls here at the board are strong. And so we do not have a written management letter offering any recommendations for improving those controls. So if there are no questions, I'll go on to the financial statements. Once the board approves the audit and these financial statements, we can issue these to the state agencies, and that's due to the state by the end of October. So the first few pages, pages 1 through 3, contains management's discussion and analysis. This is required supplementary information. It is prepared by management, and we do review it to make sure that the amounts agree back to the audited financial statements and that the explanations are reasonable. Page 1 goes over certain financial highlights compared to the prior year, which we'll review when we get to the statements. Page 2 gives you condensed financial information over the past 3 years. And again, these do agree back to the audited financial statement amounts. And then following that is a very good discussion about events affecting future operations at the board. And that continues on to page 3. So the audit report is on pages 4 and 5. On page 4 of the report, we state that management is responsible for the fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and that our responsibility as auditors is to express an opinion on the financial statements based on our audit. So the opinion is at the bottom of page 4. This is the bottom line of the audit. This is an unmodified or clean opinion and states that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So this is the highest, this is the best opinion that an organization can get as a result of an audit. On page 5, the emphasis of matter is a required disclosure that says that these financial statements are presented only for the appraisal board and do not include the state of North Carolina. And then under other matter, this again lets you know of the procedures that we perform relative to the MD&A. So the actual financial statements starts on page 6. This is the statement of net position or the balance sheet for the board, the end of 2019, June 30, 2019 compared to 2018. So just to review some highlights with you, total current assets, $2.2 million, consisting primarily of cash of $2 million, and also current investments of $199,000. Current investments relate to the CDs that are maturing within the next fiscal year. And then non-current assets are the CDs maturing after the end of next fiscal year of $585,000. And then total capital assets net of depreciation, $1.8 million, to give total assets $4.66 million as of the end of June 30, 2019. And then total current liabilities, $905,000, consisting primarily of unearned revenues. Unearned revenues relates to the renewals that come in before the end of the year that relate to the next year's licensing period. And then non-current liabilities consist of accrued vacation of $55,000. So that leaves a net position for the board of $3.7 million. And that consists of $1.8 million invested in capital assets, and the remaining $1.87 million is unrestricted. I would point out that this relates to 20 months of operating expenses, excluding depreciation. This is a strong net position for the board. I would also like to point out that of that $1.8 million, the board has specifically designated about $1.2 million for potential future costs, such as litigation, IT improvements, and we can see that when we go through the footnotes. The next, page 7, this is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, or the income statement. Total operating revenues, $1.25 million. This is a slight decrease of about $10,000 or less than 1%. This decrease relates primarily to the pass-through revenues last year related to the books and the civil penalties. There were no such revenues this year, as the books are every other year, and there were no civil penalties in the current year. So if you exclude those pass-through revenues, total revenues increase about $13,000. You'll see an increase in the renewals, offset by a slight decrease in the application fees related to the AMC fees. And then total operating expenses also decreased by about $159,000 to about $1.2 million. You'll see decreases primarily in personnel costs and also legal. The legal decrease is due to the fact that the in-house counsel position is a part-time position beginning January 1. And then total non-operating revenues consists of interest income and an unrealized gain on the CDs, totaling about $38,000. So total changes in net position, $101,000 compared to an increase last year of $40,000. And then the next, page 8, this is the statement of cash flows, and shows the sources and uses of cash during the year. Net cash provided by operating activities, $98,000. Net cash provided by investing activities of about $4,500. And then net cash used in capital activities of about $26,000. So that results in an increase in cash during the year of about $76,000. And then starting on page 9, the rest of the financial statements contains required footnote disclosures. Note 1 gives a summary of the significant accounting policies, and these did not change from the prior year. That continues on through page 11. On page 11, I would like to point out under net position, this gives you a disclosure of the specific designations of net position that the board has made, totaling $1.2 million. So we believe this is a very good disclosure. It lets the reader know that of the unrestricted net position, these amounts are designated by the board for these specific purposes. And then on page 12, note 2 gives you more detail on deposits and investments. It lets you know that there is credit risk. About $1.4 million was maintained in an ICS. It's a sweep program that is fully insured by the financial institution up to $75 million, so there's no risk there. Other amounts are insured by the FDIC up to $250,000 per institution. Uninsured cash balances there totaled about $235,000 at the end of the year, and this balance fluctuates as the cash balances fluctuate. On page 13, note 3 gives you just some fair value measurement disclosures of the CDs at the end of the year compared to prior year. Page 14, note 4 gives you a detail of the capital assets and the activity during the year, including any acquisitions, disposals, and the accumulated depreciation compared to prior year. Note 5 gives a description of the retirement plan and the contributions made to that plan during the year. Note 6 gives a roll forward of the accrued vacation. And then page 15, note 7 gives you the future minimum lease payments under the operating leases. Note 8 discusses risk management and the insurance coverages that the board has to mitigate the risk. And then note 9 gives you commitments as of June 30. The last paragraph discusses the commitment with the IT company to upgrade the server and the database in order to allow for online renewals, hopefully next year. And that's all I have related to the financial statements, but I'm willing to answer any questions you may have, or if you'd like me to go into any more detail.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept this report in its entirety as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to accept the auditor's report as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm leaving my cards here. If you would like to reach out to me after the meeting or anytime during the year, feel free. Thank you.
All right, moving on to your financial statements. We do have your profit and loss statements for the months of July and August. The only thing that I will note, until we get the auditor's report and you've accepted it, which you have now, we do not reflect the renewal numbers. So when you see those, like on the first line there, around $50,000 on renewal fees and $14,000 in AMC renewal fees, that's what we've gained since July 1. All the prepaids that we get, the majority in May and June, will be reflected beginning with your next profit and loss for September. So you'll see that change dramatically at this point. So just so you know why that's the case, but nothing else outstanding that I'm aware of. I think we have had a few AMCs to register this year and we kind of felt like it had gone down, so we've already gone past. I think we doubled what we anticipated for the whole year already. So That's, I guess, a good thing from an income situation. But forecasting, it's not too good on my part, I guess. Okay.
Quite acceptable since it's a positive.
Yeah, since it's positive, that's a little better.
Are you finished?
That's all for finance, yes.
So then we'll move on to the legal or probable cause cases. And we'll start with, Mr. Warren, you have any?
Yes, 2018-0061, 2019-0010, and 2019-0023.
I'm sorry, 19, did you say?
0023 was the third.
All right. So it's 6/1, 19,
6, 1, 10, and 19. I mean, and 23, excuse me.
yeah. 6, 1, 19. Okay, do you have any?
I have none.
Del?
Have none.
Including what Mr. Warren had, I would like to also discuss 2019-0013. That'd be page 13.
Okay.
All right, Lee, then we might, we'll start with Mr. Warren. Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Make
Make a motion, please.
And if, before you do that, remember you need to hold out too that Mr. Talent is recusing himself from.
Recusals at 0011 and 0019.
If you want to approve those first and then the rest would be fine.
I'll make a motion to approve 2019, 0011, and 0019.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second on that, so we have a motion and a second to 0011 and 0019. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we can start with Mr. Warren.
And then
I'd
now
like
you
to
need,
make a
Oh, I
motion
thought we had that done.
to approve the remainder of the cases, except for the ones you have listed, which
10, 13, except for 10, 13, 23, and 61.
And we have a
Right.
motion and a second to approve the rest of these as staff recommendations.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now, Mr. Warren. It's your turn.
okay. The question I have about 0061 is, I think the probable cause summary stated that the person that completed the inspection was an appraiser. Was that assistance noted in the report by the person doing the desktop? It was not. Okay. I know we've talked about this a lot in the subcommittee for bifurcated, but would it be reasonable to suggest some type of education since that appraiser that did, well, first of all, was the appraiser was the inspector known to be an appraiser by the appraiser doing the desktop?
No, the,
No?
the appraiser was not acting as an appraiser, he was acting as a photographer.
But
He
the
has a
appraiser
photographer.
that signed the report with.
He didn't know the person that did
He
it.
did not know the person that did the appraisal.
And the person that did the inspection was not acting as an appraiser.
But he was an appraiser.
Yes, he has two businesses, one is a photography
Okay. I mean, I just have some concern that, and I always have, and I'm not going backwards
Right.
after our discussion, that if the person's doing the inspection, more than just data gathering, did the inspection have more than just data gathering? Did it have a condition, quality? That's
He
what we're
did, he had filled out a form, with some check marks on it, that he didn't see any derogatory thing about the property and things of that nature. In talking to the appraiser said, what I do, I look at the information, if I think it's reliable, I use it, if I don't, I throw it out. He says, bottom line is, it's my opinion, and I just use that information to supplement my own opinion.
Okay. All right. I think I'm okay with the staff's recommendation after that, hearing that. I think that may change as we get into the bifurcated, but I'll accept the staff's recommendation myself. I'm okay with that. My second one was something very similar on 2019-0010, and that's it. The inspection was completed by an appraiser, and if the appraiser doing the desktop knew he was an appraiser.
Number 10?
Yeah,
No, it was not completed by an appraiser.
okay. All right, I'm fine with that. And on 23, this would be page 34. I think, and I'm going to it now on the computer, so just be patient with me. Maybe I should turn this mic on. The last statement that basically says that the basement adjustment seems, I think it's in the last paragraph, that the basement adjustment seems okay based on
Yeah.
everything.
Based on the condition, the quality of construction of the basement, I guess what I was trying to say is that the basement was not really that, didn't have quality of construction. It was not finished to the, even close to, what most basements are finished. It was not real high quality finish.
Okay. So I think at the end, it's basically just saying based on the investigator's observation, the competitive sales indicated that $15 per square foot of basement was within a reasonable range. And
Yeah,
that kind of, I guess I just wonder if maybe we should just dismiss this with the warning about the logs and remove the course completion, the conditional.
well, yeah, well, fine.
I mean, what's your, opinion?
Oh,
Maybe I'm misreading it.
I don't think this person did anything that wrong,
Okay,
but he did have some real strange, he didn't have any support for any of his adjustments.
I think that was the Gene Found.
That was it.
That was the
He
issue.
come up with some kind of percentage that he was using,
okay,
even though, he might have fallen into the right number. His method for getting there was not really, what typical peers would do, and he didn't have support for his adjustment. That was the major thing,
okay,
even though the final value was probably very reasonable, but he still didn't support his, it had nothing in his work file.
okay.
And yeah, now,
All right, I'm okay with those then.
expenses, would you be good enough to do, except for 13, do the same ones he did, 6, 1, 10, 23, then we can.
I would prefer if we can, if we can handle, I'll go one at a time, that way we can do
Yes.
this as we go. Okay. I had similar questions that have been answered, on case number 1. And,
Do you mean 61?
16.
Yeah. The first one.
Yes, yes.
Again.
Pardon my lack.
That's fine.
And I still have, I guess a quandary, we're settling the cases before, we've got about 3 or 4 of these cases that are directly involving the bifurcated or the desktops, and the question before the board right now. And I'm not sure that we don't have any other choice but dismiss this one or put it off until we can settle the final question. In my thought process, we're starting a specific requirement, or we're being asked to skirt. The North Carolina statute, it says that the appraiser must be in direct supervision with anyone that's having input into the appraisal process. Licensed or unlicensed, it doesn't matter. And it puts the appraiser in a quandary. And several of these cases, and this is the first one that came to my attention, is has direct linkage to a larger question that we're going to talk about later on. But we still have this underlying requirement in the state of North Carolina that it doesn't effectively say that the appraiser cannot do this type of report, and that's all it is. But the appraiser must have direct supervision over anyone having input into that appraisal assignment. And depending on where this assignment came from, there could be also some repercussions even into the AOC statute. But there was I'll get to the point that is not going to be covered later, but in this, on page 3, I think it was, I noticed that talking about the scope of work in this assignment. And it's alluding to a concept that the scope of work is provided to the appraiser. And that technically and ideologically, is impossible. The appraiser must determine the scope of work. So if we're limiting the liability, if you will, of the appraiser up front, depending upon the scope of work, only the appraiser can determine what that is. The clients can only provide assignment conditions. And that must be done up front before the appraiser has the ability to say yes or no, I don't want this assignment. So we're thinking in terms where we reversed this process and said, well, this is a product. It's not a product. It can't be. It is an assignment, and the appraiser must make a choice. Number one, what is required provide a report and an appraisal that is, competent. But he's gotta know all the facts up front. And it just seems like that we're talking about a situation where the scope of work is fluid, and that's true, but only the appraiser can determine that. And so, I think the basis for saying that this assignment is somehow is, dependent upon what the client, is wanting out of the situation, does not, determine, or the intended use does not necessarily reflect what the scope of work is going to be. They can say, you gotta do this as a minimum, but it's up to the appraiser to say if he needs more, and if he wants to report more, or use a different reporting format. That's totally the appraiser's choice. So, I've got serious problems with accepting this particular assignment, or this recommendation, excuse me, because we're setting precedent on what our, take is, if you will. Are we supporting, and are we doing what the law tells us to do? And are we telling the appraisers, this is what the law currently says that we have to do?
I can respond. I can respond to the part about what you said the law tells appraisers to do. And what it says is failed as a licensed or certified real estate appraiser to actively and personally supervise any person not licensed or certified under this chapter who assists the licensed or certified real estate appraiser in performing the real estate appraisal. So I think in this case, it seems that the information was one piece of data given to the appraiser, and that person was not involved in the appraisal such that that person could have been supervised by the appraiser.
So, if we're making a distinction, then what is significant?
Well, I think we're making a distinction about what is involved, assisting the appraiser in performing the real estate appraisal. And based on the facts of this situation, that person was not involved in assisting in the appraisal. That was one piece of data that the appraiser had that was given to him ahead of time. So there was no involvement in actually performing the appraisal itself, such that the appraiser could supervise this individual, because that information was given as a piece of data that was already collected before the appraiser even got involved in this process.
So, in a prior conversation, in the previous question, it was stated that in this case, an appraiser just took pictures. Okay, that within itself is not an issue.
Correct.
But was there any input on stating the conditions of the neighborhood or the dwelling or anything? Was there any input from this inspector / appraiser into this second appraiser's assignment?
Nothing.
There was.
So if the inspector makes any decision on condition, which is by and large,
The check mark.
even checklist or any indications, then that inspector has made a choice, and has that appraiser at this point become subject to use that guidance in the state?
In my case,
Yes.
and I believe that's the one you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
The appraiser that I talked to, the appraiser that actually signed the report,
Mhm.
he stated that information given to him is fine. But the bottom line is, he can take the information and put it in the garbage if he wants to. Just because you receive information does not mean that you have to decide that this information is relevant. It is the appraiser's decision to use that information or not use that information. It's kind of like going, when you're doing a real estate appraisal and the sales agent leaves you all of this information. You can take it up, take it to your office, use it, or throw it away. The appraiser that I talked to said that he looked at the information, but the bottom line was that he made his own decision about the condition of the property.
He did, but then we got an appraiser that has made, some significant input into this, and by whatever process they did, he's automatically became an appraiser.
This person that, in my case, was not acting as an appraiser at the time that he did this photograph and filling out this form. It's just like a real estate broker can be a real estate broker, but he doesn't have to be an appraiser. He was outside of appraisal practice. In my case, case number 61.
Right, that's fine.
Okay. I think we have a very big dilemma here on this one.
Well, may I make a statement? It seems to me that it's the point of, and I know I'm being redundant, the information already existed, just as a tax report in the courthouse. So the issue, I think what you're getting at, if the appraiser who had the assignment ordered this information to be taken when he got the assignment, then it would be different.
Yes.
But taking information that existed in any case is just information like a newspaper report. He chooses to take it or not, but he did not order it, and therefore he is not responsible for supervision because he did not order it. It's just information that was provided to the appraiser.
Can I comment on that? But that's information that would have not existed for no other reason than to set a value of this property. Information that the tax card is not created to put a value on a piece of property for a mortgage, or for a divorce, or for an estate. It was created to determine a portion of the tax, of the county's tax bill that property owes. So that data has been created for its totally different purposes and being relied on typically because of assignment conditions result in something that you can't go to the property. Maybe it's hostile occupant, maybe it's a foreclosure, whatever the reason. This data, being that it was an inspection, not just photos, not just a measurement of the house, but it was an inspection with opinions, was created only for the sole purpose of someone putting a number on a property so that they could determine, I think this one was for a mortgage, and that creates a different issue and it's a different type of piece of data. I mean, it's taken the decision of the appraiser possibly. At one time it would have been they would order maybe an exterior only or just a desktop, and the appraiser would have said, wait a minute, I can't do this because I don't have enough information on the house. I can't see it from the road. I can't tell the condition, whatever. There's questions about the outside appearance that lead me to believe something's wrong inside. I need to up my scope or increase my scope. That appraiser still had that, but it took some of that out because that data was relied on by him. And he chose to rely on it, whether it was an appraiser doing it or whether somebody else, a non-appraiser, did it. So, I'm gonna table the rest of that discussion I have on this issue for when we get to the newsletter, because it's a very difficult topic, and the newsletter that we'll be discussing later is designed to give guidance to appraisers and on how to handle these sorts of things. And at this point, it's just, I just can't, it's difficult for me to wrap my head around disciplining somebody with for something that we're having so much trouble with. So I was wanting to get past, I wasn't gonna comment on the type of product as much as I was just wanting to see if it was known, because I do believe if it was known to the appraiser should have disclosed in the report that the person who did the inspection was an appraiser. But that, I was gonna hold off on that conversation until we got there. But this is a different piece of information than a tax card.
Yes, and I agree. I will, even though that it causes me issues, I think that the case that we have, I think that the appraiser did have enough information. And we're struggling with what to do about this state requirement. But I think that there's issues with the appraiser that provided this one. And, but for this case, I would make a motion that we accept the dismissal recommendation.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation of dismissal on case number 2018-0061. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
And the second one also deals with case number 001088. I think that was one of the ones that Mr. Warren talked about earlier. Again, back to kind of the same type of scenario, and identifying and supervising people that have input into this process. And those names not appearing in certification, if this one was not an appraiser, then they at least have to be supervised under current state law. And the underlying problem, to expand the scope of work when necessary, kind of back to my previous question, there's not enough information for the appraiser in this case up front. And since a lot of the stuff was given to him through this hybrid approach, if you will, this is snowballing because the consumers are already finding out the appraiser has no protection. We're not here to protect the appraiser, but it's a catch-22 from the very beginning. And I don't see that the appraiser had enough preliminary information to even set up a scope of work. One may have been provided for him, but that's a minimum. But I don't think in this case, to expand the scope of work is probably not a necessary warning. Now, keeping copies of all transmitted reports is an issue. I have no problem with that. We're going to get into that situation no matter what type of appraisal assignment this appraiser does. So, I'm okay. I would, in this case, I'd like to take out the indication of a warning, because we're coming back to the same argument that we did with did on the last case, and I don't see how we can warn him.
And so you just want to say conditional dismissal, with a warning to keep copies of all transmitted reports and the completion of the USPAP course, which we give for not sufficient record keeping. Okay.
Warren, would you agree with that? Would you accept that?
Yes, is that a motion?
Yeah.
Then I'll second it.
Sorry.
You have the right to respond.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to modify the recommendation to read something effective, additional dismissal unnecessary for credible results, by keeping records and transmitting reports and the completion of 15-hour course, is that what you're saying?
So no warning, is that right?
No, a warning to keep copies of all transmitted reports and completion of the 15-hour
Yeah,
USPAP.
so including the 15-hour.
No warning for the scope of work yet.
For scope, but keeping the 15-hour USPAP.
Got it.
All right. Would you be willing to repeat that? Did we get it right?
I make a motion that we, warn the appraiser, about keeping.
Record keeping.
Record keeping and also a conditional dismissal based upon completion of a 15-hour use pack.
Is that satisfactory? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Uh,
So you'll do 23 next?
actually,
You want to do 13, I think.
No, 13.
Actually, 13, I mentioned case number 31, which was 0020, in addition to what Mr. Warren had said earlier. And I think my questions were answered for case 13. We can talk about how it relates to future, when the time comes up in that discussion. But case number 0020,
2-0.
We already passed
Yeah,
on.
that's.
Yeah. 2-3 was the one that Mr. Warren got.
2-3 is the one we need to review.
because I had retained the only other one that I had stated that I wanted to make comments on was
13.
13.
Was that 13?
Yeah, 13 and 23. 13 and 23.
I never rested it, so excuse me, I was just, was looking at case 20, page 31, but we can handle that.
See, that's what happens, so late night on the road. Okay,
So we still need to deal with 23
And 13.
and 13.
Need motions
And
on
13.
those, yeah.
So we need staff recommendation, motions to set recommendations on both 13 and 23.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendations on 0013 and 0023. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. I believe that completes the probable cause issues. And at this point in time, I will need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the General Statute 143-318 or 11A and 143-318.18.
Second.
Motion is second. Move into closed session for these statutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do this in the antechamber.